Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormybman for this Monday, November 6th, 2023. And this is number 63 in the series of Nerds shows, and we are moving right along with them. And we are happy to present this evening our take on our top 5 cop and robbers films. We came up with this one just to continue to dive into the depths of cinema and our cinematic experience, viewing certain films, being able to partake in the action genre once again when it comes down to the cops and robbers, because when you talk about these particular films of this genre, there's usually a lot of conflict going down there. So and typically the conflict is settled with firearms or more. So with that being said, I want to introduce my co-host of the show this evening. We got Drew Titan in the building with me. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Salute. Let's get it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
man. Talking about cops and robbers. There are so many of these films. It's really hard to say, what's the best. You know what I
Right.
mean? But we do know that some of these that we'll be talking about this evening have been films that just have taken us on a journey, with not just the characters, maybe the story that the characters are revolving around, and sometimes the intense action that takes place. Some of these films have produced some of the best performances by certain actors that we, have come to know and love. Um, Everybody knows Dirty Harry, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
With
yeah.
Clint Eastwood, and he made about 5 or 6 Dirty Harry films over his career, all of which I enjoyed. Some of them were kind of preposterous as the tales went on, but the first couple of ones were very key in what we're talking about tonight. And though neither of them are on my list, but if you remember the first Dirty Harry, it was kind of based on the Zodiac killer that really existed,
yeah, yeah.
and that film, 1973, saw Callahan, who was Clint Eastwood's character's last name, a cop detective who was kind of rogue, and who had always lost partners or had partners vanquished from him because of his outlaw demeanor and breaking the rules, so to speak. And he felt like his, partners weighed him down. The second film, Magnum Force,
Magnum
was
Force.
interesting because that one told the story about crooked cops. You remember David Soul from Starsky and Hutch was
Yeah.
in that one, right?
Yep.
And dude, Magnum Force is a damn good cop movie.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised I
Great.
didn't put it on this list, but it came
There
to
was
me
so
as
much.
it came to me as I'm doing my, opening dialogue talking about this and what our show is about tonight. But it just come to me. It's like, that's a heck of a cop film there, Magnum Force, because when you have dirty cops doing stuff and the city, the mayor, and the force are looking for these criminals, not even thinking that they're right under their nose
And their nose.
on the staff. You know what I mean?
That was brilliant how they did. Oh man, you know what I didn't put on this damn list? Serpico.
Yeah, well, but see, again, there's no wrong way, because there are so many. We could come back and do another show on top 5 cop films. There's a film with Viggo Mortensen that I love, History of Violence.
Oh man.
Dude, all I gotta say to you is this. If you saw that movie, the shower scene.
Enough said.
Drew, I was sitting there flinching and everything because I'll let you describe it. I've been running my mouth for a minute, but tell these people why they should check out History of Violence. And if Viggo Mortensen, which we ain't seen him in ages in films, of course people remember him from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But man, let me tell you about History of Violence. Go ahead, man.
In History of Violence, you really don't know what the hell's going on. You think the movie's gonna go in one direction. I don't want to ruin it, but it starts off like, oh, okay, these are 2 criminals, and they go into no-name town in the middle of America somewhere, and they go up into a diner, and they tried to bully the owners, and they were looking to rob the diner. But the guy who stopped the robbery kind of did it in a way, it was like, how did he get that off? You know, he's supposed to be some white guy in the middle of nowhere in the USA, and then he became a hero, and he got a lot of notoriety behind that. The news came, and he was trying to keep a low profile, and then you find out why he was trying to keep a low profile. Because some people came looking for him, and his name wasn't his name, it was Joey. And they came, and it was unlike something that town had never seen. Come to find out, he wasn't who he said he was. He was really a badass, and he was trying to get away from his previous life, and he had to go fix it now. And his wife didn't know, his kids didn't know, and his whole marriage got ruined. She was like, well, who are you? And he had to come clean. Go see the movie. Well, pick it up. Pick it up. I'm sure it's probably on YouTube somewhere, but History of Violence is a brilliant film. Brilliant film.
Vincent Cassell is in there with him, who was in a couple of darn good
he was in the last Top Gun
films. Well, he was in a couple of good cop and robber films himself, where he played Mesrine, the French bank robber from the 60s and everything, in the 70s. This guy was Public Enemy #1. Mesrine and Public Enemy are the two films. It's a two-parter that covers Mesrine's life. And he was a dangerous man over in the UK, a former military guy who got out of the military, and he couldn't find honest work. And the streets that he knew drew him back, and he became a bank robber. And you know, in the UK, they don't use guns, right? Or you're not supposed to be. Well, Mesrine, dude, there's a great scene in the film where he robs a bank. He got a guy as the getaway driver. He goes into the bank. He robs the bank. He comes out. He throws the bags in the car, and he looks across the street, and it's another bank. And he goes over there and robs that one too.
Super thug.
Mesrine was bad, dude.
That's a bad boy.
He was a bad so-and-so.
And you said he was a real person?
Yes. It's based on a real guy. You can Google Mesrine. Mesrine. This guy, there are pictures of, and Vincent Cassell, they made him up to look just like the guy too. You know.
Wow.
And he died, you know, at the hands of the law. They had to take him out, man, because he, you know what? They had arrested him a couple of times. He got out. It's like he was like Escobar or whatever. He can't no cell hold me. Man, this guy was something else, bro. And I'm surprised that movie is not on my list. But again, that's just to say how great this genre is, man. How great.
I guess we have enough that it could really hit the nail on the head with the movies that we did pick, though. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let me set it off.
Sure.
No particular order. I'm gonna go with my first pick was Point Break. And for those of you that didn't see it, let me read to you what it's about. It was starring Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. After a bizarre string of bank robberies in Southern California, with the crooks donning masks of various former presidents. That movie started off the presidential mask and stuff like that. A federal agent, Johnny Utah, who's played by Keanu Reeves, infiltrates the suspected gang, but this is no ordinary group of robbers. They're surfers. That's what the funny part of this movie was, that these guys were surfers. They're led by a charismatic guy named Bodie, played by Patrick Swayze, who are addicted to the rush of thievery. You know, the need for speed. That's where that line comes from that movie. And the problem was Keanu's playing this cop, And of course, there's a girl who's with the robbers. He falls in love with her. The woman's name is Tyler. She's also a surfer, played by Lori Petty, who is close to the gang, and it complicates his sense of duty. So always these dudes with these chicks, man. This is hilarious what they doing. Always, man. Always. But it was I saw that in the movies. I saw that in the movies. It was complicated because he was hired to infiltrate this gang of robbers, and he finds out that these guys are surfers. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious, but these guys was hardcore. When he finds out who they are, the ending was kind of like, oh shit, these guys, you got to understand that whole era, those white guys, that was around the era. Yeah, Point Break. That was around the era where the X Games kind of like started to take off. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that, but those exports thing, those are the things that the white guys excelled at: snowboarding, BMX bike riding, surfing. That was their thing, and they were damn good at it. So this movie came out. They were robbing banks with these presidents' masks off, the mask on. One guy had the Richard Nixon mask. He says, "I'm not a crook," as he ran out holding the bag of money. He says, "I'm not a crook." It was funny as hell. But at the end, he let him go. Patrick Swayze's character, he let him go because there was like this giant wave that he wanted to ride, and it was either like arrest him or let him ride that wave. And it was a storm, and he's like, "Look, man, you caught." And they had some sort of dialogue, and he says, "Yeah, I want to get on that wave." And there was no way you could ride that wave and survive. So he kind of like just said, "All right, go ahead." And he let him go on in. You see him riding the wave, and he wiped out. And you assume that he just died at the end. But it was a pretty cool movie for its time. Now, I forget, what year did that come out? Let me see. That came out in 90. Let me see. Sham it. 91. I was in high school. 91. Point Break. It came out in 91. And I saw it in the movies. It was pretty good for that time. It was pretty good. Yes, on YouTube right now, Mr. Shelton. Yeah. Hen Dog, salute. Big Texas, what up? Shogun, salute. Dr. Mark, salute. Salute to everybody in the chat. Yeah, Point Break, it was pretty good. Pretty good. Had a lot of one-liners in there too, but of course, Keanu, the character has to fall in love with the girl, and it complicated things. It's always these dudes with these women, man. Cut it out. Damn. That was damn good. Point Break.
Man, Shelton says he was in 5th grade in 91. And he's only in the 10th now, so. Slow progress. It's like. Salute
shit.
to you, Mr. Shelton, man.
Mr. Shelton.
But yeah, man, Point Break was one of those films. It was, for the time that it was made, high octane is one of those kind of associations that you can describe it, because in high adrenaline, living on the edge, between cops and baddies, and there's always been a fascination in the American vernacular that with that. It's like, there's always been, and see, part of that is this culture here was built on bloodshed. So the whole point of trying to pretend like it don't exist, that, come on, it's no real, the mob don't really control everything. There's no real, the cops aren't like really bad like that. And it's like, come on, man. That's one of the reasons why I realized during, my youth growing up and watching kung fu films, right? And as I got older, I started expanding my view of watching Asian cinema. And one of the things that I learned is that culture doesn't deny the bad that transpired in their culture. That's why, like, sometimes when they make films, the good guy don't win.
Right.
Sometimes the bad guy goes off into the sunset. Sometimes everybody dies. It's something really alluring about that for me with their culture, because I relate to more realistic aspects. And quick story about triads in Asian culture. The triads started out as a 5-family type of deal, but guess where they came from? They came from rebellious Shaolin Temple disciples. When the Shaolin Temple was burned to the ground by the Qing dynasty, there were 5 survivors, and you've seen movies about them, and you may not even realize it. There was Hung Si Kwang, Feng Si Yu, Hu Wei Chen, all these guys. They broke up into groups and went out into the provinces, which are like suburbs or countrysides, and they began to establish themselves as defenders of the weak and everything. The Qing dynasty, people who rebelled against the improprieties, and because the Hans were trying to come in and take over. Then you had the Russians that were trying to invade. There was a lot going on. That's what the Boxer Rebellion was all about.
Boxer Rebellion, yeah.
And of course, you had the Japanese trying to invade. But what happened throughout history is that some of those triad groups, it's like a spider web. You start out with the 5 families, and then they break up into smaller groups, right, that are extension of that particular family. And then some became baddies. But you still had some who held the goodness, and they would fight the baddies. And then you had some still that were good and bad. So it just, and throughout the generations, it spread and spread into different types. But it originally started with 5 families. But what's a part of their culture is they don't deny the fact that the strength of the triad is prevalent. It's in their politics, it's in their police force, it's in their everyday walk of life. That's why you see some modern Asian gangster films and stuff, somebody could have a little noodle shop, and it's a dude coming in there, hey, where's our money? Picking up. It's true. It happens, but it's a part of the culture. But over here, you can open a pizza shop if you want to, but you're going to get a visit from somebody. And over here, they try to pretend like it ain't real. I don't like that.
It's real. It's real.
I don't like that. It's like everything is built on a damn lie, bro. So when you talk about these cops and robbers, you have reasons why people do what they do. Some robbers in some of these stories that we've seen became robbers because they were fed up with the BS. And it's like, well, if they're going to do this, I'm my piece, take my cut anyway, because they're going, and isn't that really at the base of a lot of these films themes? Where you see it's like a fine line where a guy decides to go rogue or go bad.
Yeah,
He's been really too. Remember another film? It just ran across my mind as I'm talking about this. Deep Cover. Deep Cover is deep, man. Lawrence Fishburne, Jeff Goldblum.
What about what was that movie with Omar Epps and LL Cool J, where he
Oh,
was so far deep undercover that his last name was, they called him Jay Reed, but
mhm.
he was so deep into it that he forgot he was a cop. He forgot he was a cop. It was crazy. In too
In
deep.
too
That's
deep.
what it
Yeah,
was. That's what it
yeah,
was. That's what it was. It was crazy. Another remember the movie, the Western, Young Guns.
yes,
Those guys were rebelling against the machine.
yep,
That's all that was. That's all that was. So yeah, these movies come from something. A lot of these criminals, they didn't just decide and up and do it. A lot of those guys, they thought they were freedom fighters. What do you think Robin Hood was about? He robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. He did it with a purpose. That's where it came from. So, a lot of these guys think, some of these guys just do it just to do it, but some of these guys think that they're uh, fighting against a system, an organized machine that's not good for the people.
yeah.
You know?
You know,
Yeah.
absolutely, man, absolutely. Give us another one of your titles.
Okay. Reservoir Dogs.
Man, that's a classic,
Yeah,
bro.
Reservoir Dogs is really, really Reservoir Dogs. If y'all never seen that, I recommend it. All right, 6 criminals with they each strangers to one another. That sounds like the 5 Deadly Venoms, doesn't it? Strangers
Yeah,
to one another. They're hired to carry out a robbery. The heist is ambushed by police, and the gang are forced to shoot their way out. At their warehouse, the survivors, realizing that they were set up, try to find the traitor in the mix. Now, this was very peculiar because when the movie starts, the one critique about this film is that they never show the robbery. They never showed it. When the movie starts, dude's in the back seat because he got a bullet in him. He's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. They're like, yo, kid, hang on, kid. And they get to the hideout and they work backwards. They're like, man, what happened? Somebody set us up. There's no effing way that they knew he was gonna do that. And they're trying to figure out who the traitor was. And they work backwards in the film. Go ahead and get that super chat. My brother, Eric Jordan.
yeah. Salute to Eric out there with that super sticker, man. I appreciate you, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Keep on listening, bro. We got some good stuff for you this show. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Eric Jordan's always supporting. That's the fam right there. So Reservoir Dogs, they never showed a robbery, but if you like storytelling and suspense, highly, highly, highly recommend this film. And as I'm talking, I'm thinking of other films I didn't put on this damn list.
I told you, man. Don't even trouble yourself with that. You can just kind of carefully just mention them because we can always revisit. But what's great about this is it also shows how vast the cinematic experience is with this whole genre. It's like, man, you can reach in a barrel and pull up, anything
Right,
in your
right,
hand.
right.
It
But
was
the
something.
climax in Reservoir Dogs, and this is what made that film special. The climax of the film, you're grinding your teeth like, what's gonna happen? And he's holding dude, and he's looking around. He's like, what's gonna happen? And the damn movie ends. I'm like, sheesh. But you leave it up to like, well, what did they do? It's crazy, but it's a damn good film. Damn good film. Reservoir Dogs. I recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great film. That is one of the ones that I had picked and selected for tonight's show is an older film of this genre, man. And this one here
French Connection.
is one of the ones that it made Gene Wilder a star when he played in this film, The French Connection, a 1971 American noir action thriller film. Directed by William Friedkin. Now, if you know that name, we were just talking about Mr. Friedkin's film a couple of shows ago when we were talking about film soundtracks. And one of
Mhm.
his biggest films from 1973, The Exorcist. So that means that this man was a prominent filmmaker
Mhm.
during his time, William Friedkin. The film starred, Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider, who some of you guys will remember from Jaws, the sheriff,
Mhm.
and Fernando Rey. This film was uh, plotted as a police detective who runs a large. He's following a guy who runs a large heroin smuggling syndicate, and the policeman is murdered by a hitman, and the the smuggler, he plans to smuggle $32 million worth of heroin into the United States by hiding it in a car of his unsuspecting friend, a television personality who's traveling to New York by ship. In New York, the detectives, Jimmy Popeye Doyle, that's
Mhm.
Gene Hackman, uh, and his buddy Cloudy Russo, they go out for drinks, and Popeye notices uh, some mobsters who were involved in narcotics. They tell the guys, and the story picks up from there because
Right.
they run across this situation, which is a case that is quite bigger than what they would ever imagine, and it just unfolds. Man, the film is an excellent piece. There was a sequel to it because Gene Wilder was so great as Popeye Doyle. They had a second film, The French Connection Part 2. This film was released, like I said, in 1971, made on a budget of 1.8 million, and it brought in 75 million worldwide.
Mm.
Dude,
Mm.
that just lets you know
Yeah.
what this was all about, man. And see, again, when we talk about this and we talk about, nerding out on some of this stuff, I like to try to bring the facts to you and let you know what's happening, because it's important that we not only just remember and relish our culture and our nerddom of these vast subjects that we cover here, but in case someone else is looking for something, looking for, I don't care if it's like if you're into music or books or art or something. It's like what we do here is
Mhm.
trying to draw you in that it's okay to be a nerd for what we do. Um, and that's why we're able to do this. And we do it with pleasure. We do it with excitement and joy. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about, you
We
know?
having fun here. We kicking our feet up over here, man. Yeah. Fresh Connection, and there's a sequel. So when y'all get some time, these are movies we recommend. These are movies, and Fresh Connection is a throwback. That came out what year again?
1971.
71, before I was born. But it was a damn good film. I did when I saw it. It was in my teen years, and I got drawn in. I said, man, it's pretty good. It's good. I
We
like.
got Dr. Mark out there, and he's a little senior to us, and I'm sure he remembers some of this fare that we
Right,
talk
right.
about. And at the same time, it was a slice of Americana. It was like you go to the theater like this, and remember, our society was so different then. People's morals, ethics, and values,
Yeah,
they were at a different place. People weren't so open, wild, and willy-nilly as they are now. So there was some chastity to, the observation of crime and the criminal, and as well as dutiful justice. So, I mean, you wouldn't be doing yourself a disservice to go back and venture into the history and see some of this stuff that we're talking about when it applies, because all of what we're talking about on tonight's show is not all old stuff. It's just that I can mix in some of that older stuff because it was a part of my experience, definitely, but it's also something that excites me to share the knowledge that I have or what I've studied up on to share with you all. So just know it's coming from a good place. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Should I go next?
sure.
All right. Let's go to this was pretty good. And I'm gonna tell you why I like this film. This was Copland. Had a pretty good all-star cast. Copland came out in let me see. Copland 1997. All right. Uh
Arguably Stallone's best
yeah,
acting
yes,
work.
it was. And I'm gonna tell you why for me. Um Copland, first of all, he got it. Stallone really showed that he's a grade A actor in this film. Um, First and foremost, that weight he gained for that uh, part was real weight. I remember he was talking about it. Um, he hired a dietitian to get into that character. They would put a plate of pancakes every morning in front of him. It was like, I forgot, like 8 or 9 pancakes with syrup and butter, and they said you got to finish that. And he gained weight. So when you watch Copland to see him, and he has that little gut, that's real. And it's like, that's Rocky, yeah. And he said as soon as he was done filming that, he went back home and got his diet together and lost all of that weight. Because you got to remember, Stallone, the reason why he looks so well, other than the man's had some work done, but he's in shape. He's in phenomenal shape.
He went from Rocky to stocky.
Sloppy. He looked like Balboa retired for real. My God. But Copland, Michael Rappaport plays this hothead, person. He accidentally gets involved in an ugly, racially motivated incident. His uncle Ray Dolan, played by Harvey Keitel, he's a corrupt New York City cop. He attempts to sweep it under the rug by helping fake his nephew's death. You got to see this movie. All right, that's how bad what he did was. He tried to fake his nephew's death. The bungled cover-up leads to investigations by an idealistic internal affairs officer played by Robert De Niro, and Freddie Heflin, that's Stallone's character, sheriff of a suburban New Jersey town where Dolan and his fellow crooked policemen live. Now, the reason why, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the reason why this was like an NYPD thing, sort of, and Stallone was a cop in a small area in Jersey, but he was just like, doing traffic duties and waving kids along across the street during school, whatever. And I think he played like he was kind of like handicapped or something. Like he was on the job, but he was kind of like, I think he was like deaf in one ear. Something was going on with him to the point where, okay, you could work, but you're not gonna do any real police work. And he saw something and he tried to do something to get involved. And all the real cops doing real work was stumping him, but he got so involved where he had to like really do his job. And it worked out for him. He got beat up along the way, but it worked out for him. And at the end, he's bringing a person to justice, and he's in New York going inside one police plaza. It's a pretty damn good movie, though. It's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Yeah, Copland, I saw that in the movies too. 97, yeah, I saw that in the movies too. That was great. Did you see Copland?
Yeah, and it was directed by James Mangold. And if you guys know James Mangold, what he has done, his body of work has been tremendous as well. Some of you may remember him, a few of his films, The Wolverine. The
Yep.
Wolverine with your boy Hugh Jackman. You see, again, I like to talk about those kind of little tidbits because it lets you know who's doing this and creating these tremendous works. And Copland was made on a budget of 15 million and it brought in 63.7 million at the box office. So it was a very successful film for a cop film. Um, Again, Robert De Niro was in there, Ray Liotta, Harvey
Really, yeah.
Keitel, uh, Michael Rappaport is in there, even Annabella Sciorra, who we know from Jungle Fever and some other stuff, The Sopranos and everything. So a very nice cast in that film and a very well made film. James Mangold made some good films. Yeah.
He sure did. That movie. Like I said, you have to have a love and appreciation for movies like that. This deep storytelling here, very deep
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, and I appreciate that for what it was, man. Copland was really good, really, really good. I recommend it. What you got?
Well, another film that I wanted to talk about, um, it's one of those movies that people would know because of who's starring in it, but to know the story of the characters in this particular film and what the story is really about, that's what's really important. But because of the stars, they overshined. Uh, that's American Gangster.
Mm-hmm.
This film here, man, starring Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington, was I mean, a really compelling film. This film, like, if you know the story of whom Denzel was playing here,
Mm-hmm.
he was not playing a nice guy.
No.
He was playing one of the most ruthless and I know some of you guys know the film Training Day. Of course, I know, but that's Denzel. But this film, for who he was playing, because it was based on a real
Real
person,
person.
you have to understand that they didn't pull any punches. I remember when Denzel was on Oprah's show talking about this film, because that's one of the things Oprah used to do back in the day. When films like this would come out, she would have the stars of the film on her show and they would talk about the roles.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel was describing his meeting with Frank Lucas because he went and actually had a sit down with him and had a chance to have conversation and exchange and everything. And he got up to go to the washroom at one point. This is what Denzel is explaining on Oprah's show. When he came back, his demeanor and Frank Lucas's actual habits and things of that nature, he was emulating. Something similar he had done when he made The Hurricane about Reuben Carter. He had done something similar. But in this film, he had to play a cold as ice gangster. And this man was associated with Bumpy Johnson and everything. So it was really a
Cuba Gooding Jr. played Mickey Barnes in that film too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All real people, y'all. All real people.
Side story to Bumpy Johnson, who was running Blue Magic throughout the East Coast Blue magic was his drug. He was selling. But he decided that he would go to the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier super fight, the first fight held in Madison Square Garden. Now, up until this point, Frank Lucas had been flying under the radar doing what he was doing. But that fight had a venerable who's who in the audience. Sure. It was the toughest ticket in town, something that has become a saying, but it was true at that time. Yep. To the degree that Frank Sinatra couldn't even get a ticket to that fight, so he entered the fight as a photographer.
Yep.
I think for Life magazine or something like that. But it was a tough ticket. But Frank Lucas showed up at the Ali Frazier fight in 1971 in a chinchilla coat,
which was unheard of at that time.
And he had a bad babe on his arm, his lady.
There's pictures of it, right?
Yes. When he showed up at that fight, it drew the type of unnecessary attention that he had marked with his staff, the people that worked for him. Don't do flamboyant things, don't draw attention to yourself, this, that, and the other. And he broke his own rule.
That's right.
And that was the beginning of his downfall, because that drew the eyes of everybody on him. They was like, who is that black guy there? Is that some millionaire we don't know about or whatever?
Yeah.
A full-length chinchilla coat, unheard of, as Drew just said. It was like, it drew so much. I mean, the wealthiest of Hollywood starlets and movie-going people and people who were, what do they call them? Well-to-do, let's just say. Nobody wore anything like that.
And they were saying, who is this Negro who's not in Hollywood running around with us? He's not bouncing around on stage with Michael Jackson or anybody. Who is this Negro? And he put a spotlight on him. And I'm gonna tell you something else, man. What made this movie special was Frank Lucas did something that the government couldn't see any Negro doing. And he was able to cut the middleman and get his narcotic straight from the producer.
From the source, yep.
Straight from the source. He didn't need the Italian or nothing like that. He was
unheard of, especially right. For a black man.
For a black man to do that.
And we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s. It's like, dude, this is something that you can't. It's like this. It's considered like when what's his name? When the color line was crossed in professional baseball, right?
Robinson.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson. Excuse me, I couldn't remember Jackie's name for a moment. I drew a blank. But what he did, what Frank Lucas did, he kind of made them rewrite the game.
Yeah.
He is a prominent person, man. It's like unbelievable what this really meant.
Now, and unfortunately, sorry to cut you off. Unfortunately, a guy like Frank Lucas, we could have did without in the community, and that's the reality of it. And although this movie tells a story, Frank Lucas is no damn hero in real life. No. And there was also a lot, like I said, there was a lot of side characters in there. I'm like, oh man, that guy was bad. Like you heard me mention Cuba Gooding Jr. in this film played damn it, I just said his name. Mickey Barnes. Mickey Barnes was also a badass in real life. These were black gangsters. But Frank Lucas was the one that cut the middleman, and he changed the game. And he changed it so much that there's a line in the film saying you can't expect me to believe that some nigga accomplished that something the goddamn Italian mafia couldn't even do. And that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. And this was a huge movie. One of the huge things, this was a huge movie because of Denzel and Russell Crowe, who was super hot, like pause, was super hot on the market back then. But the soundtrack was done by Jay-Z. So they had a lot of things going for this movie. I remember they went to Jay-Z and he did the American Gangster soundtrack was done by Jay-Z. I got it somewhere in the crib. Everyone ran out and bought it. So there was a lot going on with this film, man. A lot going on with it. And the scary part is the events are true. The events are true. He really did that. You know, there's a lot of Hollywood in it, but the overall gist of the story is true, based off of true events, true story. It's crazy. Crazy, man. Wow. American Gangster, that was something else, man.
Yeah. We, you know, when we talk about covering these films and what they meant and the stories that they've told, how they've entertained us, but how they also record history.
Yeah.
Some amazing aspects of that.
Since we're talking about Denzel, you know we got to bring up Training Day.
Yeah, you go ahead and roll with that one. We got Training Day as a part of what we're talking about tonight as well.
This is the first thing I picked up when they started airing this movie. First of all, looking at the poster, the first thing I knew, I said, okay, Denzel's the villain in this. That's the first thing I knew. Second thing, you look at the chains, look at the piece on there. That's a LAPD badge. And people, that went right over everyone's head. I said, oh shit, I can't wait to see this. And Ethan Hawke and Denzel, y'all all saw Training Day. I ain't even got to explain to you what this was. He was a crooked cop and he was a badass. You remember the scene where he went up and said this is a raid, and they ran up in Shorty house and he stole their drugs?
Yeah.
And they had to shoot out. He put out both his pistols. Man, he played a perfect crooked cop. But you know what the problem here is? Denzel never won an award, the ones we wanted him to win, until he did this damn film. He never got that award until, what was that, an Emmy or an Oscar? I forget which one.
Oscar.
It was an Oscar. He didn't get it until, now he had a body of work before this. This is when they gave him that damn thing. After doing Malcolm X and everything else, this is what got him that Oscar. Similar to Halle Berry didn't get an Oscar until she had that X-rated sex scene with the ugliest white boy in Hollywood and Billy Bob Thornton. That's when she got it. Whatever.
And I have to say this, she actually had sex with that man on the set for real.
I believe so.
Nah, it happened, bro. That's what she did. She gave it up, and they gave her an Oscar for it.
That scene was way too real for me, man. I was disgusted.
This is coming from someone, by the way, that when she played in the Bruce Willis film, what's the film where he played the guy, The Last Boy Scout,
right?
And she raised a fit for the character played by Damon Wayans, who was the football player in that film. There was a scene where the two of them were laying in a intimate position on a sofa or something like that, and Damon was like put his hand near her breast or something like that, and she freaked out on it, and
wow,
don't touch me like that, and
Wow.
raised the real stink about it, and talked about how she, felt violated and everything. Think
Wow.
about this, what I'm saying, people.
Yeah.
But Billy Bob got a chance to make her feel good, daddy.
Man.
Yeah, in
He's
front of all the
man.
cameras and everything. Is somebody in Hollywood got the censored scenes of actual penetrations and everything. That's why she has tapped her little heels for the rest of her career. And
Yeah.
she don't do films with y'all. She don't do films with y'all no more. She don't do films with y'all no more.
Yeah. You noticed. You saw the slippage. What was the movie where Halle Berry showed her berries? That was Swordfish.
Yeah, swordfish.
Funny looking boobs. And after that, I
Deformed ass
believe.
boobs. I've seen
Yeah.
better boobs. Well, I never mind.
Never
But
mind.
anyway, I'm talking too much. I got a little too comfortable.
Yeah, but if you never see Monster Ball, and it's a movie about. Oh man, he's a racist. That's what really bothered me. And he reformed after a while. And it's a train wreck. That movie's a wreck. You will watch that. You know what? If you're having a good day, don't watch that movie. Because even though it's supposed to be some happy ending and he's some sort of reform white supremacist, it's still not happy. I'm thinking, how does this dude get this fine ass black sister? How does that happen? Whatever, man. Whatever. That was the movie telling these country bumpkins, you got hope, because these sisters, they're gonna start divesting in about a decade or so. And here we are. That's pep talk, y'all. Don't think that that's not a show that I have in my back pocket. I was gonna relate Monsters Ball, because that Monsters Ball is about what? 15 years old now? No, older than that.
Yeah.
It's older than that. That got sisters divest. Oh, whatever. That's pep talk, y'all. Forget it. Forget I said anything. But anyway, what
Yeah.
was we talking about? Training Day.
Training Day.
Y'all saw that.
Alonzo.
Man,
King Kong ain't got
got
nothing.
nothing on me. That's the line right there. And that ending was something else. When those what was those Russians, right? They caught up with him. Ooh,
Dude,
they
you
switched
remember
keys
when he dropped Ethan Hawke at that house with them criminals, those vatos, and he left them to finish old boy off. But it's a good thing that he had that girl's ID or whatever that was on him, because that saved his life, because he was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a film that really, it's like Denzel's character was so much on the dark side that it seemed like, oh, this is preposterous. It can't be. But no, there are some out there for real.
Listen, years ago, there was a precinct. It's up there in Washington Heights in Manhattan, Dominican land up there. The 30th precinct. You can Google it. They called it the Dirty 30. They had cops that were still on probation coming to work in Mercedes Benz and BMWs. It's like, how the fuck on this police saddle? You can't afford that. What's going on? Long story short, there was a string of officers that was shaking down drug dealers, allowing them to move product, but saying, yo, let me get about a 10% cut and I'll let you live. And it's on you. Listen, y'all go on Google and put in the Dirty 30 in New York City. It's the 30th precinct, and there was a whole shakedown in that precinct. This was going back in the 90s. It was bad. It was bad, 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 bad. Man, but so when you see this character in Training Day, believe it. There was a lot of cops out there that was, putting in work. Weird stuff, man. But Denzel played the hell out of that role, man. Denzel played the hell out of the role. He got his Oscar for it. I was like, damn. But that's a really good film, man. Really good film. Training Day, man. When he started when they broke into the house and he said he had a warrant, ran up in the house, and then Shorty was like, he was like, yo, sorry, ma'am, we didn't find anything, so we're leaving. She was like, you done took the whatever the fuck. They took the drugs or whatever. She called those boys. They came from all directions with do-rags on. They started shooting up the house, and he pulled out his pistols. He was crazy. That is not a cop you want training you on their first day at work. Hell no.
Yeah. Dude was like, boom, get some of that up in you. He
Yep.
was, he had, he had Ethan high and drugged out.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
He was showing him the wrong thing to do, man. Goodness.
He's like, hey man.
That
He
was
said,
crazy.
Get you a beer. He said, what's wrong with a beer? You don't want no beer?
Whole time he's like, are we supposed to? Man, boy, if you don't get right, man. You remember when they shook down Snoop?
I was just about to say that. When they shook down Snoop, man.
Yo, I knew someone who could do that.
Yeah.
I knew someone who could put stuff in their chest and regurgitate it. I knew someone who could do that.
Yeah, and Snoop, when he was like, he's like, what's that? 1, 3, 4, Jimmy Crack Corn. He told man, that movie was something else, man.
That shit was good, man. That was a damn good. I recommend it. All right. So you got any other ones before we go to the main event?
Oh, of course, man. You know me. Stormybman has his, this one right here, man, is a film that you guys need to watch.
Yes, sir.
Now, you think you may have watched it when you saw The Departed, which was the American remake of this film. This film was made in 2002. It's now part of a trilogy that is on par with the trilogy of The Godfather in America. This film was made in Hong Kong. And you heard me give you a little bit of an intro into Chinese culture history about the triads and how they're a part of everything in their culture. Listen, this film essentially is about an undercover cop going into the triads, and a cop who, a triad who is turned undercover for the police department. So it's like you've got a topsy-turvy scenario here where one guy wants to be good, but the other guy is bad. And the guy who wants to be good can't be good because of his affiliation and family relations. There's some triads in his family, so he couldn't become a cop. The guy who's a cop, he come up in the triads, but the triads are using him on the police force. So it's like, dude, this is a tremendous film, originally starring two men from Hong Kong cinema that are just two of the most dynamic actors in Hong Kong. Andy Lau, who's on your left there, and Tony Leung, who's on the right. Now, if you guys are not hip to Andy Lau, he's like the De Niro of Hong Kong. Tony Leung, you can kind of consider him like an Al Pacino. He is that good. They are that good. And in this trilogy, they brought about a story to be told that is so amazing. The soundtrack for this film is awesome. It's off the chain. There's a actor from the Hong Kong kung fu films of the 70s, Eric Shang. He's playing a triad boss and leader. He's amazing in here. Anthony Wong, who is also a all-star character actor for them, and he has played in some real compelling films. But this film here, the first, Infernal Affairs, it was so good that Brad Pitt and what's his name that plays Jason Bourne, his buddy? Uh,
That's oh gosh,
Brad Pitt, uh, you
Matt
know,
Damon.
Matt Damon, and those guys, they bought the rights to this film so they could remake it here in the US. Now, this film was never shown in the US because they bought the rights. So when American film companies do something like that, what happens is they'll shelve the original. You can still get it on video or something if it's in distribution, but you won't see this cinematically. There's a reason that this film was shelved, though, more so than anything. The Departed, which in its own right was a pretty darn good gangster film, cop and robber film, whatever you want to call it, from the genre, but it doesn't hold a candle to this film. It does not. And I am so glad that I saw this film first. Now, mind you, when I saw this film, The Departed, let me look up the year that The Departed was made. Because, like I said, this was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
The Departed was made in 2006. So, basically, you had about 4 years between when this film was released and they decided to buy the rights of it and try to make their own version. But I'm going to tell you why the American version don't work. I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to ask a question to the chat and to Drew before I tell you why. Why do you think the American version of this film don't work, Drew?
Well, in my opinion, depending on who's writing it, how can I say this? It's an Asian versus American thing. Their sense,
very close.
Their sense of the cultures are different. Their sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Their sense of ethics. That's the word. Their sense of ethics is different, which is why if they were going to translate this film to American, they would have to switch the story around because things that they take serious, we don't take too serious. So that's why it really wouldn't work.
Yep.
Now, when you watch Infernal Affairs, as an American watching it, you're like, they're mad over that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas over here, they'll probably be like, they're mad over that. Like stepping on someone's Jordans years ago would get you shot. In the Asian community, like, y'all shoot each other over that shit? It's stupid. You get what I'm saying? So it's a cultural
absolutely
thing. It's a cultural thing.
It's one of the reasons, like I said, when I saw this film, because I was waiting for The Departed to come out because I had read, like I said, I had already had this film in my film library a few years before it was made. So, matter of fact, I have this film. I just recently bought the Blu-ray box set, but I have the original DVDs of it, which were awesome. The awesome DTS soundtrack on these films are, man, blow you away. And then I had a video CD of the film too, because I used to have a contact that would get these films early. And he'll tell me, he'd say, hey, I got the, so-and-so, he's like my dealer, you want it? Oh yeah, I'll take it. It's like, I'll let you know when the real DVD comes out. And I was like, okay, cool, man, let me tell you something. First time I sat down and watched this film, I was sitting there in total awe, jaw agape. I'm looking at this. I was like, I can't believe. And they had this great moment that they tried to recreate in The Departed, where the undercover cop, which you would know as Leonardo DiCaprio, going after the undercover triad, Leonardo DiCaprio going after Matt Damon, who was the dirty cop.
Right.
He's following him. You remember when they were in the
Yeah,
theater
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
following him and everything. He almost caught the guy, almost caught up to him, because that was going to let them know who the mole was. It plays out so much different in the Asian Hong Kong version that it just like, and it's almost shot similarly, but the Asian version is just so much better, man. It is so much better. But both films are good. But Infernal Affairs is such a tremendous film. I am a proud owner of its original, like I said, DVD release. And then I also followed that up with part 2 and part 3. They felt compelled to make a part 3 because they wanted it to finish off like a trilogy like The Godfather.
Yeah.
And part 2 kind of deals with the two men when they were younger. That's where they went with that. And so the Departed film takes elements of both part 1 and part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch the Infernal Affairs, the first film plays out totally different than The Departed. But if you watch the second film, then you can see the elements of The Departed that they lifted from part 2, and they'd explain some other stuff. So you get to see the men when they were in the academy. They actually crossed paths.
Mm-hmm.
They were familiar but didn't really know each other and stuff like that. So it's like it makes what happens in the first film more intense, because it's like, oh, I think I know that guy. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So a tremendous film, man. Tremendous. But that's all I got to say about it.
Recommended. All right. Main event.
Yes,
Let's talk
sir.
about Heat. Here we go.
Listen, this movie right here, brother, and chat, is probably one of the best films, cop and robbers, as we talk about. But not only that, it is starring two of the most prominent actors, from the genre. It was made in 1995. The cast includes Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Tom Sizemore, Diane Venora, Amy Brenneman, Ashley Judd, McKelty Williamson, Wes Studi, Ted Levine, John Voight, and Val Kilmer. This is one of the most awesome films ever made, and it was directed by Michael Mann, noted for Miami Vice and all of that. But go ahead, Drew. I'll let you also share.
Man, this was a first of all, when you have Bobby D and Al in a film together, it's like a match made in heaven. If you're into these kind of films, and basically, who Robert De Niro is this is he's a bank robber, and this was his final heist into retirement, if that makes sense. A criminal going into retirement, but a criminal going to retirement, there has to be a really big heist. So this was it, and De Niro. I mean, in Pacino's character, he's the police officer, and he has what's unique about these films that aside from their job, they're normal people. They have a life happening on top of their job. Let me take a step back to American Gangster. Russell Crowe's character was going through a disgusting divorce in that film. So he's running around trying to lock up Frank Lucas, and he's going through a nasty divorce. So in Heat, Pacino was having an issue with his wife and the daughter, and he's dealing with real life while trying to catch this guy. And it was crazy because Pacino knows who he is. De Niro knows who he is. They develop like a mutual respect for one another. But he's like, look, I'm gonna do my job. It's like boxers. I don't like you in real life, but when that bell ring, I'm gonna have to kick your ass. That's just what it is. So that's what it was, and there's a lot of story in between. I recommend it. The movie's almost 3 hours long, and the climax of the movie was the actual robbery. And I remember watching this, and I'm saying to myself, man, later on when I watched Reservoir Dogs, I wondered. I said, man, was there bank heist like this? But my goodness,
that shootout is the best shootout I ever seen,
ever
in a movie, man. That was awesome. And I'm a home theater buff. So if you're sitting there and you're watching that in the midst of a home theater, dude, there's nothing better. That is so compelling. What went down, it was amazing. Now, I just wanted to take a quick moment and say something about this comment by Champion Heart. And I understand that sometimes the brothers get a little overzealous and they say certain things sometimes. But Champion Heart, this was not almost a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. If you can't consider Heat a masterpiece, then you may want to rethink your views on the cinematic experience, brother. And that's not me trying to come down on you or nothing like that, because everybody has their taste. I understand that. But there are about, let me look and see what this is. There are about $187.4 million from the box office that would disagree with you. This film was made on a budget of $60 million.
Oh man,
and that's how much it raked in. 187.4 million is what they raked in at the box
serious
office.
return on their investment, man. And again, if y'all didn't see that last scene leading, don't just go and watch the damn shootout. You gotta watch the movie for the buildup, because it makes it that much more satisfying. And my goodness, that scene when you see, did you see this in the movies?
I sure did.
Yeah. Oh,
I sure did.
Ooh, I was like, holy crap. Listen, that build up to that scene, I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it, And man, those guys got busy. And I'm gonna tell you what was weird. When you see these movies, you ever watch the movie and there's a scene or a character that's doing something that's actually your line of work?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what would I do in that? It's like when you're a kid, you just watching the movie, But when you watching a movie and something happens to a child in the movie, what do? In your mind, you're like, damn, my child. You know what I'm saying? What would I do with that? You can't help that. When I saw this, one of my buddies he was already a cop on the job for a year when we went to go see this. And he was now looking at it from a different perspective. And when we left the theater, he was like, man, I don't know what the F I would do. And I said, I almost said his name. I said, bro, listen, that shit happened. You know what you do? You worry about getting home to your family. Because if those guys got guns bigger than you, duck and cover. You was there, but your job is to go sign out at the end of the night. You don't need to be in there ducking bullets for that. You wait for ESU, you wait for the Armed Forces, you wait for the National Guard, which, by the way, do you remember what happened in Los Angeles? With those dudes with all that body armor started shooting at LAPD, and they had body armor on. It was disgusting. It was disgusting, man. But when I was in training, they brought up that scene in Heat. They brought it up. I saw the guys with the body armor. Y'all didn't see what I saw. I saw the whole video unedited, and it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, man. But goodness, the climax to that scene, that last scene, holy crap! And when we saw it in the theater, those guns were loud. I was like, oh my gosh, ooh, ooh, ooh. And there was some people that are pro law enforcement was like, oh, but then there was some people that kind of rooted for the criminals.
Exactly.
You know, it was like, holy cow, you know, it's weird. It's weird like that, man.
And you remember De Niro's line of dialogue where he says, never have something that you can't walk away from in a few
Yeah,
minutes flat or whatever. It was
yeah,
like, dude, that was deep.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
deep, man.
yeah.
Because you have to have a certain psychology and
True
psychological
story, yeah,
view and outlook to be able to be that.
yeah.
And he
Whew,
lived by that. I
he
wouldn't
sure did.
hesitate, but not for one moment. I wouldn't hesitate.
Mm,
Woo, man.
fully
Salute to the
recommended.
Salute to the brother Anthony Bolton out there in that super chat, man. Appreciate you so much. He says, I love heist movies because of Heat. I watched it in the 6th grade. Yeah, man.
Wow.
What a film Heat is, man. It is really, I mean, outstanding piece of cinema.
It's a great film, man. It's a great film. I recommend it. You know what? I got some time. I'm gonna watch it, and I got it. Is it on Prime? It's somewhere. I saw it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
on
amazing.
YouTube.
Yeah. So,
It's yeah, hell yeah.
but yeah, man. Go ahead and give us your final thoughts, man, because I know we got to get ready for pep talk.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sometimes I'll be having so much fun here, and yeah, man. Again, y'all know why we do this show. Another slam dunk. Um, this is what this show's about, man. We like to reminisce and this show. There's endless things we could talk about, man. Go back and check every Monday the things we've spoken about. We've talked about everything from action movies to food, you know, snacks that you know growing up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we got another super chat. Our brother Champion Heart in that super
Yeah,
chat.
I see him out there. Salute to Champion Heart, who's double back, saying, "My Stormy B Man and Drew Titan. I may need to watch it again because it is a phenomenal film."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, listen,
It's
this
great.
is why the cinematic experience is like, even if you leave a theater and you say, "Man, that was great,"
Mhm.
always go back because there are always things that you miss,
Yeah.
things that make you fond to relive and revisit, but there are so many details.
Mhm.
If you like the cinematic experience, always dive deep into it. Don't just let that first time be the time, you know. Of course, you can't repeat the feeling that you get from it, but you can increase the fondness that you
Yeah.
have for it. So
Yeah.
just remember that, bro. That's
Yeah.
coming from a film critic like Stormy. Yeah, but
Salute to Champion
appreciate you,
Heart, man.
Champion Heart, man.
Salute,
Appreciate
brother.
you.
Yeah, man. But we have fun here, man. I got some more ideas of I'm gonna bounce off of you. But
Yeah, and make sure you write them down too,
oh
because
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
forget them. You know, we don't want to forget them.
yeah,
So
definitely. But you know, this is why this show is so important. And I like to announce this week I'm doing my first live on Bear Cave. I ain't gonna tell you
cool,
what it is. I'm doing my first live on Bear Cave before this week is out because I got some time. And
cool.
I don't know when and where, but I'm just gonna pop up on y'all ass. Pause. But salute, Stormy. I look forward to Mondays, no diggity doubt. And yeah, we'll be back next Monday with more of this nerd talk. We love it here.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience to come together with you guys, brothers and sisters alike, to enjoy and take this information in and revisit some of this stuff from our culture. But
Yes,
that's
sir.
gonna be it for this evening. You guys take this energy on over to Drew's pep talk, and salute to the mighty LDBC. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace to
Yes, sir.
everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.
Peace.